Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. This channel is an organic amalgamation for searching, seeking, and finding the truth in this chaotic, confusing, and disruptive world that we live in today. And I want to get into this story about we have all heard the phrases drug trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking. But what about organ harvesting and trafficking? This story is called The Body Trade, which exposes how loosely regulated the U.S. body donation industry is, noting that when a body is donated, few states provide rules governing dismemberment or use or offer rights to a donor's next of kin, making it difficult to track what becomes of the remains or ensure they are handled with dignity. So this particular story is, for example, you look at the back of your driver's license, people ask you, do you want to be an organ donor? You say yes, you want to donate your body to science. It could be for diabetes research, Alzheimer's, cancer, etc. But I've done some research, you have places when you donate your body to certain places that you're thinking you're donating them to for science, places like Biological Resource Center that was based out of Phoenix, Arizona. Reuters did a special report on this company, Biological Resource Center, BRC, out of Phoenix, Arizona, where they were in the business where human bodies were butchered, packaged, and sold. So today we're talking about organ harvesting and trafficking and how this company and this guy got in big trouble. I tell you all the time, in this crazy world we live in, the unforeseen will become seen and the unbelievable will become believable. What basically is going on is that people die, donate their loved ones, as I said, to these certain centers like Biological Resource Center or the Science, and these dead bodies become commodities and are being sold on the black market and all over the place for a profit. And a lot of family members don't know that that's what's happening to their loved ones. So this particular story, viewer and listener discretion is advised. This will be a little bit graphic to a certain degree, but I think it's an eye-opener that we should be aware of what is going on around us and in this crazy world we live in. So this is a Reuters 2017 investigative special report. This is part of their broader series called The Body Trade. And here's a summary. The Biological Resource Center, BRC, in Phoenix, Arizona. This story opens with technician Sam Kazemi standing over a corpse with pliers, a scalpel, and a motorized drywall saw. On a busy day, Mr. Sam Kazemi, he might harvest body parts from 5 or 6 people who had donated their bodies to science. Reuters reviewed thousands of internal BRC records. Remember, BRC is Biological Resource Center. Reuters reviewed thousands of internal BRC records and confidential law enforcement documents covering profiles of over 2,280 donors, including invoices and inventories for thousands of body parts, showing how bodies were dissected, which parts were sent where, and why buyers obtained them. So, for example, one donor, a 75-year-old retired factory worker named Conrad Patrick, illustrates what happened. After death, he became a commodity known as, and this is like going to prison, like an inmate. You're not known by, when you go to prison, you're not known by your name, you're known by a number. It's very similar to this with these deceased bodies that have been donated to places like the Biological Resource Center. So this guy is no longer Conrad Patrick, a human being. Now he is BRC 1311 2103. He was cut into 7 pieces. His left foot went to Chicago Orthopedic Lab. His left shoulder went to a Las Vegas surgical seminar company. His head and spine went to the United States Army Project, and his genitals went to a local university, and his remaining parts were in BRC's freezer inventory. So what was the scale of this operation? Over a decade, BRC took in about 5,000 human bodies. 5,000. Typically, people who wish to donate to science or were too poor to afford a burial, and sold more than 20,000 parts of them. This BRC place, this Biological Resource Center, sold over 20,000 parts of human beings. In 2012, this is a real story. In 2012 and 2013 alone, BRC sold at least 961 body parts, including at least 224 human heads, to middlemen brokers who then resold or leased the parts to others. This is happening right up under our nose as U.S. citizens. This trafficking stuff and all these different categories of organ harvesting is a real deal. There are even controversies and implications that kids are being kidnapped in many of our major cities over the years and being killed for their organs. So the deception. Many donors believe the company would only take skin samples. So when these bodies got donated to BRC by the family members, they thought it was only for skin samples or for specific science projects like for Alzheimer's. They did not know that their family members were being butchered and chopped up, and their organs and limbs were being sold out in the open market or the black market. So sometimes BRC called widows, so they would even call widows and pressure them to amend consent forms to allow military or destructive testing on their loved ones. So here's one notorious case. For example, Jim Stauffer donated his mother Doris's body. So this guy, Jim Stauffer, donated his mother's body, Doris, hoping it would aid in Alzheimer's research. Now remember, I'm going to say it again, it was his mother. And look at what this company did. Years later, a Reuters reporter contacted him with shocking news. His mother's body had been sold to the U.S. Army for blast experiments. Blast experiments. Listen to this carefully. This is this man's mother. Without his consent and against his explicitly stated wishes. She was reportedly strapped into a chair on an apparatus, and a detonation was set off underneath her to simulate what happens to a human body when a vehicle is hit by an IED. That's what happened to his mother. So the lawsuits, here again, the lawyers are licking their fingers. And if there are any assignatures, any cash left from BRC, the lawyers are going after it. That's what happened to that man's mother. So as a result of some of this stuff, the FBI raided this place. The FBI raided BRC's facilities in 2014, finding gruesome images, including buckets full of limbs and body parts that have been sewn together in what was described as a Frankenstein matter. This story sounds like the Silence of the Lambs. I'm going to say it again. The FBI raided the facility in 2014, finding gruesome images, including buckets full of limbs and bodies sewn together in what was described as a Frankenstein matter. Agents seized, you won't believe this, 10 tons of frozen human remains, including 281 heads, 337 legs, and 97 spines. And this was the outcome of this particular situation. And his company, BRC's owner, Stephen Gore, pleaded guilty to illegal control of an enterprise. The company is no longer in business, and numerous family members sued BRC. In response to the Gore case, the Arizona governor signed into law a bill that requires body brokers like BRC to be licensed and regularly inspected. The new law calls for body brokers to follow a set of standards and to hire a medical doctor to supervise company practices. So in conclusion, the body trade, which exposed how loosely regulated this story is about the body trade, which exposed how loosely regulated the U.S. body donation industry is, noting that when a body is donated, few states provide rules governing dismemberment or use, or offer rights to a donor's next of kin, making it difficult to track what becomes of the remains of that body or ensure they are handled with dignity. And that what I mean by that is make sure that the body is handled with dignity. It was a human being, it was a loved one, it was a family member. Now that body is gone, the spirit is left, you still have to handle it in a moral and ethical way. But this is an unfortunate, crazy story I wanted to expose to you all and let you know that these are real things out here. Do your research when you're signing the back of your driver's license for organ donation, and try to make sure that you have it spelled out in your will, or your trust, where exactly you want your body to go and what you want to happen to it, and make sure that it is a licensed, professional, and well-respected business and organization that will handle your loved ones in a respectable, mannerable way. Tell me what you think of this story. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.